Amazing thing about his childhood is his escape from South Africa.
I remember thinking and saying that America is where great things are possible, more than any other country in the world. It's a little cliche, but it's true. America is the land of opportunity.
By moving, Musk would also avoid mandatory service in South Africa's army.
Growing up in apartheid South Africa was pretty surreal. I mean, we didn't support that government, we didn't believe in it. And so the idea of actually going to the military service was really out of the question.
I told my parents I was going to Canada, and they tried to convince me not to leave.
Welcome to Jenny Media, the #1 latest news. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update on world news and any information around the world. Don't forget to comment and tell us what you think.
The Richest Guy, 2021? Mr. Elon Musk. Musk was born on June 28, 1971, in Pretoria, South Africa. He is the boy of May Musk, a design and dietitian from Canada, and Errol Musk, a South African electromechanical engineer, pilot, and sailor. March 1981. Interest in computing. His mom and dad divorced when Elon was 10. During this time he got into computer systems. At the age of 10, he developed an interest in computing with the Commodore VIC-20 and taught himself computer system programming. March 1984. Sold his first video game by the age of 12. Musk offered the code of a basic-based video game he created called Blaster to a magazine called PC and Office Technology for roughly $500.
I taught myself how to program computers when I was a kid, and bought my first computer when I was 10 and sold my first commercial program when I was 12.
Not exactly.
I learned that if I wrote software and sold it, then I could get more money and buy better computers. So it wasn't really...
June 1989. Moved to Canada at the age of 17. Elon Musk moved to Canada to attend Queen's University, avoiding mandatory service in the South African Armed Force.
The most amazing thing about his childhood is his escape from South Africa.
I remember thinking and saying that America is where great things are possible, more than any other country in the world. It's a little cliche, but it's true. America is the land of opportunity.
By moving, Musk would also avoid mandatory service in South Africa's army.
Growing up in apartheid South Africa was pretty surreal. I mean, we didn't support that government, we didn't believe in it. And so the idea of actually going to the military service was really out of the question.
I told my parents I was going to Canada, and they tried to convince me not to leave.
And off he flew, and I thought, wow, he's so independent. Of course, as soon as he lands, he calls me and he says, what do I do now?
So I bought a bus ticket from Montreal to Vancouver, and that allowed me to kind of see Canada, at least from the highway.
The August 1992 University of Pennsylvania. Musk left Canada to study service and physics at the University of Pennsylvania. He finished with a bachelor's degree in economics and stayed for a second bachelor's degree in physics. February 1995 began Zip2. Musk and his sibling, Kimball, began Zip2, a web software business that established and marketed an internet city guide for the paper publishing industry. The business raised money from a small group of angel investors.
I really wanted to just kind of go where the really exciting breakthroughs were occurring.
Elon had this ability to look at the world and go, this is a real problem that's going to happen in 20 years.
He looked around and he saw that the world-changing stuff was not happening at Stanford.
I didn't even go to class. I called the chairman of the department and said, I'd like to try starting this internet company. It probably won't succeed, and so when it fails, I want to make sure that I can still come back.
My kids do funny things, and I'm never too concerned about them because, you know, if Elon wanted to drop out of college, he could always go back.
My brother was in Canada at the time, and I said, look, I think we should try to create an internet company. So he came down and joined me.
He had, $2,000, no friends, barely enough money for an apartment. I think he told me he was showering at the gym because they didn't have a shower where he was living.
We just got some futons that there were couches during the day and then turned into beds at night.
I first met Elon and Kimball Musk, his brother, back in the mid-90s when they first set foot in California. I think they'd been here for about a week, and they were pitching a new company called Zip2. Silicon Valley in the mid-90s and late 90s was a gold rush. People were flocking to the region to find riches, to make it in the internet business.
Elon was more the business mastermind, I was more the sales guy.
I still had my core programming skills, so I was able to write the the software needed for the first company.
Now, when Elon was starting Zip2, keep in mind, the internet was just a couple of years old. Most local businesses were not on the internet. And the way you found a local business was you opened up the yellow pages.
The thought was the media companies, like the newspapers, are going to need help coming online and building lots of functionality into their websites.
We had someone literally throw a yellow pages book at us and tell us, "Do you think you'll ever replace this?" And we thought the guy was crazy. Because not only were we going to replace this, but that's not where it ended. It would keep going from there.
It wasn't long before media companies across the country were signing up.
And so we were able to get as investors and customers the New York Times Company, Hearst, Knight Ridder, and a number of other companies. I thought, that's crazy.
February 1999 sold Zip2 to Compaq. Compaq acquired Zip2 for $307 million in cash and $34 million in stock alternatives in February 1999. Musk got $22 million for his 7% share from the sale.
Why would somebody pay such a huge amount of money for this little company that we have? It actually obviously turned out very well for them financially, so obviously they knew a lot more about it than I did.
When the kids sold Zip2, it was the most exciting day. We couldn't believe it because you don't know in the internet world if you're going to, make $1 million or die tomorrow.
Sale. March 1999, co-founded X.com. Musk co-founded X.com, a financial services and payments company using email. It attained a high level of security without it being complicated for the user to make the transfer. March 2000, X.com to PayPal. X.com merged with Confinity Incorporated, a software business based in Silicon Valley. Musk was drawn into Confinity because of its easy payment system. The merged business altered its name to PayPal.
At the time, transactions were very slow. People would have to mail checks to each other, so it could take weeks just to complete a single transaction.
With his windfall from the sale of Zip2, Musk quickly turned around and founded X.com to make electronic cash transfers possible. But his new company collided with a rival mobile payment company called Confinity.
And they were really competing against each other, and the real enemy at the end of the day was eBay.
We combined our efforts in order to compete effectively against eBay's built-in system.
They called the new company PayPal.
When he looked at PayPal, his goal was not to create a place you could do person-to-person payments. His goal was to transform the financial industry.
We're able to become the leading payment system in the world, and then eBay finally threw in the towel and acquired PayPal in early 2002.
Musk and his partners sold PayPal for $1.5 billion. Musk was the largest shareholder and walked away with $180 million. He was 30 years old.
I could have bought probably a chain of islands, but that again, that was obviously just not of interest to me.
January 2000, first partner Musk would Canadian author Justine Wilson after satisfying her while attending the University of Queens. They had 6 children together, but their first boy, Nevada, died in infancy. May 2002 founded SpaceX. Musk established Area Expedition Technologies, or SpaceX, with $100 countless his early fortune. SpaceX develops and makes space launch cars to eventually construct more inexpensive spacecraft that would make it possible to one day reach and colonize Mars.
It's just a much more exciting, inspiring future if we're out there exploring the stars, as opposed to a future where we are forever confined to Earth. I was thinking, well, I wonder when we're going to Mars. When is NASA going to go to Mars? And I went to the NASA website, and there was no plan to go to Mars, and no plan to really even take the next step in space exploration.
This is Elon saying he wants to go and enable this human civilization to leave the planet Earth. It's about as big a vision as you could possibly imagine. And that's going to require funds, and he has enough funds to go do it, so he's going to go do it.
Elon was the only funder of the company for its early years. Another incredibly risky move to say, nobody on the planet thinks this idea is financeable. I'm going to fund all of it myself, to the tune of almost $100 million, which was the majority of his net worth at the time, into a dream to take on the military-industrial complex. Here's an immigrant from South Africa coming to America to say, NASA, that whole rocket thing you're doing with the space shuttle, I've got a better way.
I actually traveled to Russia 3 times to look at buying a refurbished ICBM without the nuke. And I came to the conclusion that the thing that was really holding us back from making much more progress in space was really that rockets had not evolved since the 60s.
So the trick isn't figuring out how to get to orbit, it's figuring out how to get to orbit cheaply.
So I had to come up with lower-cost ways to produce engines, the primary structure of the electronics, do the launch operation, as well as run the company with very little overhead. And the sum of inventions in all those areas is what has led us to a roughly 3- to 4-fold improvement over the cost of other rockets in the United States.
What SpaceX has been very successful at is taking basically off-the-shelf technology, stuff that was developed by NASA 50 years ago, and streamlining it.
In October 2002, eBay obtained PayPal was obtained by eBay for $1.5 billion in stock, of which Musk won $150 million in eBay shares. July 2003, Tesla is founded. Engineers Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning established Tesla Motors. Elon Musk entered into the task in 2004, leading an investment round in the startup with an individual contribution of $70 million. Musk participated in designing their very first electric cars and truck, which was a Tesla Roadster sports vehicle based on the British Lotus Elise. July 2006, co-founded SolarCity. Musk offered the initial idea and monetary capital for SolarCity. Co-founded by his cousins Lyndon and Peter Rive, SolarCity develops and sells solar panels and solar roof tiles.
I was one that suggested the idea of going into the solar power arena to Lyndon and Peter Rive, my cousins.
He basically hands this idea to his cousins and says, if you want to start this, I will fund you, and it'll be your company, but I'll be the chairman. And they say, okay. And it works almost perfectly.
What they've figured out is that if you sort of do 100 things 10% better in the area of solar cell installation for homeowners, you can dramatically consolidate an industry that's currently a bunch of mom and pop shops. So what SolarCity did was they said, how about no money down? You want solar cells? We'll just put them in. You don't pay a cent. Right? It's like leasing a car, but even better. The solar cells keep going. SolarCity then owns those at the end of the lease. So it's a fascinating business model where in the long term they may become the largest energy generator in America off all of these rooftops.
He had this idea that he wanted to make electric cars, help humanity get off fossil fuels.
And so SolarCity is about sustainable energy creation, whereas Tesla is about sustainable energy consumption. And it's really pretty simple. It's, make a high-priced car at low volume, because that's essentially the only thing we could afford to do. And then step 2 is a medium-priced car at medium volumes, and step 3 is a low-priced car at high volumes.
We expect to change the way people think about electric cars with this car, and that we hope to open the market for us to sell other electric cars. But we also know that if you start off by saying, let's first change human nature and make everybody drive crummy little cars, that doesn't work. So instead, let's build a car that people want to drive. Let's build a car that's hot and desirable and beautiful, and convince people that driving an electric car is not a compromise.
This idea of actually going in and putting it in a high-end car and breaking the mold of what an electric car was exciting. This is no longer going to be a golf cart. This is going to be a Ferrari.
Any cops watching?
Nope. Coast is clear.
When we first saw Tesla, it had a good explanation for how they get to market without having to spend exorbitant amount of money, how they would create a brand and an object of desire in consumers, and each part of the story clicked together.
He talked about Silicon Valley smarts being able to show Detroit how to do something that Detroit didn't think was possible.
It's batteries, it's drive electronics, it's electric motors. Those are skills that are present in Silicon Valley and not present in Detroit.
Tesla's revolutionary technology for the Roadster started with a computer battery as the power source for the automobile. J.B. Strawbell, Tesla's chief technology officer, was the main designer of the electric powertrain.
For the first time, it was possible to drive over 200 miles and have performance that was directly competitive with what a gasoline car could do. And Tesla was the first company to take those principles and put that into practice and try it.
California Governor Schwarzenegger showed up for the Roadster's 2006 coming out party.
I test drove this one, it's hot.
He bought one. So did Leonardo DiCaprio and George Clooney. But could Musk sell regular customers on his idea?
At that time, there was very little activity in the auto industry in electric vehicles. We were in the age of the large SUV. So it was a little unusual to hear about this company in California that was planning to come to market with a high-end all-electric sports car.
We were very passionate about trying to make sure that this car was going to just throw down the gauntlet on what the technology could do and really prove to the world that electric vehicles, could be incredibly fast and could have incredibly long range. There was kind of a sense of adventure, doing these things for the first time and doing it in a really scrappy way. We did some of the very first battery packs in my garage in Menlo Park before we actually were able to rent a real office.
American consumers are very ready for battery electric.
May 2012 SpaceX Dragon SpaceX's vehicle, Dragon, docked with the International Spaceport Station, ISS, making history as the first commercial company to release and berth a lorry to the International Space Station. September 2014 Tesla Autopilot. Tesla Motors announced its very first version of Autopilot. Its system is capable of lane control with autonomous steering, braking, and speed limit modification based on signals image recognition.